This is Garis, Masculist MGTOW flyers. That is 2-3 page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW. Written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is part 3 of flyer number 477, entitled The Ideological Clash between the MGTOWs and the Masculists. Carrying straight on. Back to the comment dash. Quote, equality between men and women is a constructed illusion pushed by people who don't understand nature. End quote. Masculists have learned a lot from the MGTOWs about female nature. For example, the core idea of the red pill, brackets, that is, that women don't love men unconditionally, rather that women love men for men's sexploitability, using their vaginas to persuade men to give women their male-generated resources. That women evolve to be prostitutes to men, brackets, in order to be more effective parasites of men, better able to bribe men with sex to extract more resources from men to feed women and their babies. Dash. Women's hypergamy, that is, the female instinct to mate up, to obtain the superior DNA from superior men for her kids, so that her kids have superior DNA than she does, which is obviously good for the species so evolved. Dash. Women's monkey branching, that is, the evolved ability of a woman to coldly, quickly, disloyally dump a man who fails to be sexploitable, who no longer gives her his resources or his protection of her against other males in her tribe, and particularly against male warriors of enemy tribes. Those women who remained loyal too long to men, who were no longer sexploitable, faced greater odds of dying, since in times of starvation, death was only often one missed meal away. So women evolved to be like this. Similarly, when a superior male came along relative to the male she currently had, and she had a realistic opportunity to monkey branch to him, then she did. She evolved to be like that is, to monkey branch. This ability of hers increased the odds of her surviving, along with her kids. The term monkey branching came from the phenomenon when a monkey branching ape, when swinging through the trees, holds onto the first branch while groping for the second branch. Once the ape has a firm grip on the second branch, it releases its grip on the first branch. For women, replace the word branch with man, and you get the idea. Thus, Masculists have an intellectual debt to the MGTOWs, so Masculists have mixed feelings towards them. Masculists see MGTOWs as good psychologists, that is, as good evolutionary psychologists regarding women's evolved nature, but as lousy politicians. Masculists see MGTOWs as apolitical wimps, and hence as contemptible, to be looked down on, as gutless, effeminate wimps. Masculists, however, are fighters, full of anger and hatred towards manslaving fluffies and fluffy feminist hypocritical genociders, and are out to crush such women with naked male verbal aggression. Masculists are the historical male equivalent of the suffragettes, who were radical and violent, who lost patience with the previous approach of the feminists, who use reason and calm persuasion to state their feminist case. Masculists are out to crush the feminazis, haranguing them out of the room, spitting in their faces, crushing them intellectually with masculist science, which is vastly superior to the wishful thinking of a lot of feminist rhetoric. For example, the feminist desire to destroy the patriarchy, that is, general male dominance, when in fact it was largely women's hypergamy that caused the patriarchy. Women have been sexually selecting men who were taller, stronger, bigger, fiercer and smarter than women for thousands of generations. So it's not surprising that men are taller, stronger, bigger, fiercer and smarter than women. Such men were more likely to be able to defend their women successfully against other men. And smarter men made better hunters, so were more sexploitable by women. Men evolved to understand and manipulate the world, and women evolved to manipulate men, evolving to become the sexiest of mammals, having every day of the month being a day in sexual heat, unlike female monkeys or female dogs, who are only periodically in sexual heat, that is, receptive to the male penis. Masculists are thus very conscious of women's evolved nature, but argue that women are now forced by masculists to combat their evolved nature, since circumstances have changed. Women now have a half-century career window, so have a powerful moral duty to fip up or be punished by men by not getting one. Masculists are very aware of the evolved inferiorities of female nature, but argue that women have no choice. Women will either fip up or rot on the shelf. We men have the financial power to force women to fip up, to grow up, to take responsibility for their own lives, or be spat at for being fluffy, man-slaving children and despised. Masculists spit at monoconscious feminazis who blame men for all their female problems instead of women taking some of the responsibility for women's problems. So the above comment that masculists don't understand women's nature is misguided. Masculists are as well informed of women's nature as MGTOWs for the simple reason that when it comes to awareness of women's nature, quotes, Masculists are MGTOWs. Masculists also use MGTOW techniques to punish women for not fipping up. That is, they do the same as MGTOWs. That is, they refuse to have anything to do with fluffy parasites, ignoring them, going their own way, and only having relationships with women so long as there is no marriage, no kids, no living together full time, etc. Under such circumstances, if the relationship fails, the man can simply walk away, back to his own abode, cost-free to him. No child payments because no kids, no alimony because the woman is a fip, no nagging, no deprivation of sex, no controlling by the woman. Since if she does any of these things, then the man can always threaten her with him just walking out on her, thus disciplining her to remain slim, to remain sexy, and to remain being nice to him, or he walks. Thus to Masculists, MGTOW is a subset of Masculism. Masculists use MGTOW techniques of walking away from marriage and paternity, spending their money on themselves as a means to punish women. Masculists feel they see the bigger gender political picture than do the MGTOWs, that is, the vision to create a FIP society, to menfair the gender laws, etc. Masculists see MGTOWs as politically myopic, smaller visioned, more childlike, not as visionary and hence not as intelligent. Masculists feel themselves to be more adult, more responsible, more able to do what is necessary to free men from man-slavery, from the hypocrisies of monoconscious feminazi bitchery and how to crush it. Masculists see MGTOWs as conservatives who merely accept the gender status quo, who merely react to it. Masculists, on the whole, are out to change that gender political status quo by creating a new one in which women are FIPs, who accept that gender oppression is a two-way street, and if not, then such women are wiped out by the Masculists, by men, leaving only more FIP women whose genes survive into future generations. We men We Masculists have that power over women. Fluffies can't survive on their own. Masculists have nothing to do with fluffies, and that idea terrifies young women. So expect in the coming years a flood of young women pouring into STEM majors at high school and college, with masculist slogans ringing in their ears such as, quote, "No calculus, no baby. Be FIP or be manless. Fluffies rot on the shelf," and the like. Back to the comment again, dash, quote, "But you are decades behind in your thinking," end quote. I don't think so. In fact, I think the reverse is true. I see MGTOW as a preliminary phase in the political development of the historical gender roles, as men are freed from manslavery thanks to women's feminist careerism. The pill allowed women to be careerists in their billions, and that in turn allowed men to free themselves from being manslaves to women, that is, working for women, for decades of men's lives. We still live in a gynocentric society, but now that men are intellectually armed with masculist ideas, masculist rhetoric, billions of men are now in a position to liberate themselves, forcing women to FIP up, to grow up, to become bi-conscious feminists, voting with men for the menfairing of the gender laws, or they get wiped out, exterminated slowly by being rejected by men, left rotting on the shelf, spat at for being manslaving vermin, immoral, parasitic, manslaving vermin, hated by the masculists, who in time will soon become nearly all men, as men wake up to the idea that they no longer have to be manslaves to women, to work for women for decades of their lives. These masculist ideas are hugely more powerful and significant than the molehill issues of the feminists. As said earlier, even rape is small beer in comparison to women's decades-lasting manslavery of men. Once billions of men become conscious of these masculist ideas, women will be forced to adapt to this new male consciousness. We men have the financial power. We are smarter than women. We are physically stronger than women. So if women don't FIP up and become bi-conscious, then masculistic men will wipe them out. In closing, I hope that the passion of the above masculist arguments has persuaded a lot of you MGTOWs to convert yourselves into being angry, hateful masculists, who then push for the menfairing of the gender laws, who crush monoconscious feminazi bigotry, who aim to create a FIP society, which is the main political goal of the masculists, a noble goal that will liberate billions of men, a major historical development in anyone's judgment. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Author of the book Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Manslaves to Women, an e-textbook of 470 plus masculist flyers for men's studies courses. Freely downloadable in Microsoft Word format from my website. Ciao.